Good morning, everybody. Just a couple more seconds and we'll get started. If you have any questions today at any time, feel free to type them into the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a second. Okay, welcome, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying our Tour of Turkey programming series this month. There's still time to sign up for Thursday's Human History Rediscovered virtual program. And next Sunday, we will have the Aegean musicians live here in the building. You also won't want to miss Rachel Kauser, the author of Alexander at the End of the World, on Monday, May 19th. Sign up on our website or give us a call to register. Today, we are visiting with Istanbul with Sharif Yenin, a renowned tour guide, guidebook author, and lecturer who will give us some insights into the Byzantine cultural heritage that has influenced generations. Welcome, Sharif.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Good morning to you all. It is 5 p.m. in Istanbul, beautiful weather, and greetings from Istanbul. Thank you very much, Lisa. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a pleasure to introduce you to the Byzantine culture, which is centered in Constantinople, and Istanbul is the modern name for Constantinople. So, as a tour guide, I love starting with general introductions, with general overviews, so that we can understand the topic better and we can look at the big picture first and then focus on the topic as we go along. So please take a look at the world map here. And I put a circle here in the red color, and this circle shows Anatolia, Turkey or Türkiye with the modern way of naming it. So as you notice, it is located at the meeting point of the three continents. So this is a very strategic and very important location. As a result of this location, Turkey, or the lands of Turkey, or Anatolia, has always drawn the attention of many great civilizations. It has always been a crossroads, a bridge between the East and the West, between the North and the South. So more than 30, 35 civilizations have chosen Anatolia as their homeland throughout history, the last one being the Turks. So Turks came to Anatolia from Central Asia as well. So this is the map of Turkey, rectangular in shape and surrounded by seas in three sides. Size-wise, it is not comparable to the US, but in comparison to many of our neighboring countries around here, it is a large country. Just to give you an idea, so from left to the right, it is approximately 1,000 miles. And it is the Black Sea in the north, the Aegean Sea in the west here, and the other side of the Aegean is Greece. And in the south, we have the Mediterranean Sea. In between the Black Sea and the Aegean Sea, we have a small inner sea here. That is the Marmara Sea. Marmara Sea is surrounded by Turkey only, so there are no other countries surrounding it. With this feature, it is also unique, the only sea in the world which is located within the boundaries of one country only. So actually the Marmara Sea in here is looking like a lake, but it is not, because it is connected with the other bodies of water around. There is one natural waterway here. That is the Bosphorus, connecting the Sea of Marmara to the Black Sea in the north. And here in the west, there's one more natural waterway, like a strait, connecting the Marmara Sea to the Aegean Sea this time, and that is the Dardanelles. So the Marmara Sea is connected with the other seas. Turkey physically is located on two continents. One small portion lies in Europe, but bigger portion lies in Asia. So the border between Europe and Asia is here, the Bosphorus, as I point out with the pointer, and the Sea of Marmara sets the border between Europe and Asia, and also the Dardanelles here. So this little land is a part of Turkey, that is 3%, but on the other hand, it is also a part of Europe. That is the European part of Turkey. And we have two neighbors in Europe. One is Greece and the other is Bulgaria. So 97% of Turkey lies in Asia. And this Asian part of Turkey, throughout history, has been named as either Asia Minor or Anatolia. Two beautiful words, two biblical names actually. These are the names mentioned in the Bible. And Asia Minor, because this is somewhat the westernmost part of the Asian continent with almost all of the characteristics of Asia. So this is the Little Asia here. Other than that, the other name, Anatolia, an ancient Greek word, and it means the land of sunrise. If we consider the Greeks in the Aegean, this was the place where the sun rose from, so they named it accordingly, and they named this land as Anatolia, meaning the land of sunrise. We have many more neighbors in the east. Here we have Georgia, and then we have Armenia here in the east, and then we have Iran, and in this corner it is Iraq, and we have a long border with Syria in the southeastern part of the country. Just to give you an orientation about the major cities, we have Istanbul here on the two sides of the Bosphorus Strait, and Istanbul was the capital during the three different empires. And with the foundation of the new republic in 1923, the capital city moved to Ankara. So Ankara is the second largest city today, but it is the official capital. And Istanbul is the largest city with approximately 17, 18 million people living in Istanbul. Ankara has 5 million. And Izmir is the third largest city, and there are about approximately 5 million people living in Izmir as well. The total population of Turkey is more than 81, 82 million today. As for geography a little bit, the highest mountain in Turkey is Mount Ararat. You know, it's another biblical mountain, and Mount Ararat is the place where Noah's Ark is believed to have landed after the flood, and it is more than 16,000 feet high, covered with an ice cap all the time. It's a beautiful, beautiful mountain. We do tours. As a tour guide, I take tours all over Turkey, and I love doing tours in the eastern part of Turkey. There is so much to see there, and the food is superb, and there are mind-blowing places here. And then we have the largest lake, Lake Van, V-A-N. This area is a volcanic area, and the water in the lake is bitter water. There's only one kind of fish living in the lake, in Lake Van. The local people call it a sea because you can't see the other side from one side. It is a big body of water. That's why the local people don't call it a lake, they call it a sea. The second largest lake is in central Anatolia. It's a salt lake, and the name is Tuz. Tuz actually means salt as well. So it's a very shallow lake with 33% salt in the water, and almost half of the salt that we use in Turkey comes from this lake. And finally, I would like to mention two biblical rivers. They both originate from the high mountains of eastern Anatolia. You remember from the Bible that the Garden of Eden had 4 streams. So 2 of these streams are located in Anatolia, and one of them is named as the Euphrates, and the other is the Tigris. So after originating from high mountains of eastern Anatolia, Euphrates goes down to Syria, and the Tigris goes down to Iraq, and after a while they merge and flow into the Persian Gulf together. And the land in between these two rivers, throughout history again, has been named as Mesopotamia, another ancient Greek word meaning between the two rivers. So Mesopotamia, the upper part of Mesopotamia coincides with southeastern part of Anatolia. And in recent years, like in the past 30 to 35 years, there have been lots of discoveries in this area regarding or going as early as the Neolithic era, like 10,000 BC. So my upcoming speech will be focusing on this area. We will talk about mind-blowing places, places similar to the Stonehenge, but the date is like 6,500 years before the Stonehenge, the T-shaped megaliths, the gigantic size pillars, and so on. So we will focus on this on Thursday. So if I focus now on Istanbul, please take a look again, the Bosphorus Strait here between the Black Sea and the Marmara Sea, and the two sides of the Bosphorus form the city of Istanbul. If we look at it from a closer distance, this is how it will show. The Bosphorus is the 20-mile-long natural waterway dividing the city of Istanbul into two continents. With this feature, Istanbul turns out to be the only metropolitan city in the world which is located on two different continents. So this waterway is named as the Bosphorus, and the Marmara Sea is in the south, and the Black Sea is in the north, and left-hand side of the Bosphorus is Europe, and the right-hand side of the Bosphorus is Asia. But we are going to focus on this part of Istanbul at the bottom. There is a peninsula here, which we call as the historic peninsula. So this is an aerial photograph of the Bosphorus. There are three suspension bridges on the Bosphorus connecting the two continents. And this is one of the best locations in the world. Look at the beauty of this area. There are beautiful palaces, mansions, houses, fortresses, all along the shores of the Bosphorus. And the houses along the water here are among the most expensive houses in the world, prices changing from $50 million to $100 million to buy just a house, a few-story house. So again, another map of the Bosphorus with the three bridges connecting the two continents here. And again, here is the Golden Horn. It's a natural waterway, and there are two small rivers flowing into it, and later it opens into the Bosphorus. And here at the bottom, it is the Sea of Marmara. So Marmara Sea being on one side and the Golden Horn being on the other side, this is a peninsula. And we call this peninsula here as the historic peninsula. This is where the old city of Constantinople was founded. Now we're going to talk about those. This is a more modern city plan with the main roads and everything else. So again, at the bottom here, it is the Sea of Marmara, and this is the entrance into the Bosphorus from the Sea of Marmara, and the Bosphorus continues towards the north, this direction, with the upcoming suspension bridges there, and later on it reaches the Black Sea there. But if we make a left turn from here, we enter into the Golden Horn. This is the little inlet, like a little bay, making a curve here. And this is the historic peninsula. This is Old Istanbul, Old Constantinople. This is another picture from the air of the historic peninsula. For example, this is the famous Hagia Sophia from the Byzantine era, and we're going to talk a lot about this today. This is a more modern building. Hagia Sophia is like 1,500 years old, but this is an Ottoman mosque. It is the Sultanahmet Mosque officially, and with its nickname, it has been known as the Blue Mosque today. The time difference between these two beautiful monuments is only 1,100 years. So can you imagine, 400 years ago, when the Blue Mosque was built here, the Hagia Sophia had been standing there from 1,100 years before. This green area at the tip of the peninsula is the area of the Topkapı Palace today, the ruling place of the Ottoman Empire. The Byzantine palace was located around this area. So, ladies and gentlemen, speaking about the history of the city, we need to go back to the 7th century BC. A group of people from the mainland of Greece, they were known as the Megarian people. They were looking for new places to settle down, and the oracles in Delphi told them that they would settle down opposite the blind people's land. So they migrated towards the east, all the way from the mainland of Greece, and then they came here this far, and this is like a small hilltop here, and then the land came to an end, and there was water. And they looked at the other side of the water, on the Asian side, and they saw an earlier colony there that was Chalcedon or Chalcedon. So they loved this place. They thought it was a very suitable place to defend themselves with the fortification walls around this hilltop. It was overlooking the three bodies of water, and the Golden Horn in the back would be used as a natural harbor, and they would be able to carry out a lot of sea trade through the Bosphorus, which was connecting the east and the west and so on. But they remembered the words of the oracle. They always had to go in line with those kinds of prophecies. And the prophecy was that they would settle down opposite the blind people's land. So they looked at the colony on the other side of the Bosphorus, on the Asian side, and then they asked themselves, how come those people living there didn't see such a beautiful location here, and they didn't settle here, but they settled on the other side? Are they blind? They must be. So if they are the blind people on the other side and opposite the blind people's land, we are okay to settle here. And this is how they settled down. And the name of their king, the king of the Megarians, was Bizas. And they named their city after their king's name. So the first name of their settlement in the 7th century BC became Byzantion, the city of Bizas. This is legendarily how the city of Byzantion was established. This was our regular story. This was our regular narrative. And this was how we were explaining the history of Istanbul before. But suddenly, in the year 2004, while they were digging for the construction of a subway station in the old city, they suddenly came across with some shipwrecks. And of course, these shipwrecks turned out to be some serious artifacts. It was not only one shipwreck, it was many shipwrecks together, all buried in the silt. So things got more serious, and the excavations there took about 9 years altogether. There were delays with the construction of the subway station, but they found extremely important artifacts there. Most of the ships that they found were intact ships, all buried in the silt. So it was understood that it was a harbor from the Byzantine era, and with the river flowing into the harbor silted up. So the sunken ships started staying under the silt, and the silt that buried the shipwrecks preserved the ships. So some of the ships were found together with their cargo. I mean, the cherry seeds in the baskets, or butchered animal bones, and all those kinds of things. And they found the first shipwreck, the second, the third, and eventually the number of the shipwrecks that they found was about 38 of them. So far, the most number of shipwrecks found altogether. And when they were about to finish the excavation, they wanted to continue digging a little underneath the harbor. This time, they found mind-blowing artifacts, some burials going as early as 6000 BC. So our narrative about Istanbul, which was starting from the 7th century BC, has changed now. We have to go back to 6000 BC. We understand that the areas around the Bosphorus in Istanbul have been settled down for thousands of years, starting from the Neolithic periods. So the whole narration changed. So coming back to the Greek colony, the city, the town of Byzantion, it never prospered in the first 900 years. The population in the town of Byzantion never exceeded 20 or 30,000 people. They lived a modest life there. For example, if you look at the map here, a larger map covering Iran as well, so Byzantion was located here, where I put this red circle. So Anatolia, for example, in the 6th century, in the 5th century BC, came under the rule of the Persians. So when the Persians dominated Anatolia, the town of Byzantion became a Persian settlement. It was a province under the Persians. Later in the 4th century BC, Alexander the Great came from Macedonia and fought two very important battles against the Persians. And then he defeated the Persians. He took the full control of Anatolia. This happened in the 4th century BC. And then the Hellenistic period started in Anatolia, which would continue for about 2 centuries in the BC periods. So our town of Byzantion became a Hellenistic settlement with people staying the same. So the name was changing, or the ruling system was changing, or the tax system was changing, or the belief system was changing officially. So this is how the Hellenistic period started with Alexander the Great. In the 2nd century BC, the Romans from Europe started coming over to Anatolia, and they dominated Anatolia. So Anatolia became a Roman land, and the town of Byzantium became a Roman town as well. Now I'm going to skip a few centuries, and I'm going to bring you to the 4th century AD. 4th century AD in Anatolia was the Roman period, the early years of the 4th century. Rather than one ruler, there were 4 rulers, and this period was actually named as the Tetrarchy period, the rule of 4. 2 senior rulers, 2 junior rulers. So rather than dominating one single land, they dominated 2 different sections. So in about 313, there were 2 senior rulers, and one of them was Constantine the Great, and the other was Licinius. Constantine generally ruled the European lands, and Licinius ruled the Asian, the Eastern lands. And there was big competition between these two, especially they were not getting along well about religion. The official religion of the state at the time was paganism, and in order to keep the integrity of the Roman Empire, they wouldn't allow new religions popping up here and there. That's why the religion Christianity was seen as a big risk, as a big threat, because it was growing too fast. That's why they started persecuting the Christians. This was the Roman approach in those times. But Constantine, one of the 2 senior emperors, was coming from a Christian mother, Hellene or Helen. And because his mother was a Christian, Constantine was standing closer to Christianity, but Licinius was persecuting the Christians badly. So at first, they signed an edict in Milan. This is named as the Edict of Milan. This happened in the year 313. So this agreement was between Licinius and Constantine. In summary, with this edict, the rights of the non-pagans were given back to these people, and their confiscated lands would be given back to them. This was the agreement that they made, but Licinius didn't keep his word in this agreement. A little after this, like 11 years later, the tension between the 2 emperors grew bigger, and then they had a very important battle against each other in the year 324, and this battle was the Battle of Chrysopolis between Licinius and Constantine the Great, and it happened just opposite the old city of Byzantium, on the Asian side of the Bosphorus. So in this battle, Constantine the Great defeated Licinius badly, and he became the sole emperor of the Roman Empire. So he is credited to finish, to give an end to the Tetrarchy period, and integrity has been reached again. But very interestingly, Constantine, instead of going to the capital city of the Roman Empire, Rome, and sitting in his throne in the palace there in Rome and ruling his empire from there, he, from many strategic reasons, he wanted to find a new base for himself, which would be more suitable for strategic reasons. So he started looking for a new base around Constantinople and so. And maybe with the same reasons for the Megarians choosing the location of Byzantium to be their first settlement, Constantine the Great focused on the same place. He checked a few other cities, but he decided for the city of Byzantium. So he decided to make the city of Byzantium the new capital for the great Roman Empire. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, a town which has been in existence for about 9 centuries, a modest town in which the population was not more than 20 or 30,000 people, very modest sea traders and so on, suddenly was announced to be the new capital for the great Roman Empire. This was such a big change in the history of the city. So, of course, the town of Byzantium was not comparable to Rome. So Constantine the Great had to prepare it to be a proper capital city. So he made lots of preparations, lots of public buildings and so on. So in 330, he made the official opening ceremony of the city as the new capital of the Roman Empire. And the things that he made can be summarized like, for example, he built these walls. I'm pointing at these walls. These are the Constantine walls from the 4th century AD. With these walls, he was expanding the territories of the city. So he built the great palace in here. Whatever they had in Rome, he was trying to have here as well. So that was Circus Maximus in Rome. So he wanted to have a hippodrome here for chariot races. So he built one in here. He built a forum in a circular format. He erected his own statue in the forum. He built a new road connecting his forum to the center of the city. He made Christianity free. And he started constructing churches for the first time. So, for example, he built the first version of the Hagia Sophia here. He built the first version of the Hagia Irene in here. He also built the first version of the Holy Apostles' Church. These happened in the 4th century AD, and it was Constantine the Great doing all of these. And he changed the name of the city from Byzantium to Nea Roma, so the new Rome. But later, his name has been given to the city, and it became Constantinopolis, the city of Constantine. And this name was even used in the time of the Turks. Later, with the coming of the Turks into the city of Constantinople became the new capital for the Ottoman Empire. This was back in the 15th century later on. But what I'm trying to say, this name became the everlasting name of this city. So these happened during the time of Constantine the Great, and these were some very important radical changes. Now, let's look at a few details from what I told you. This is the Hippodrome that Constantine built, and there was an obelisk in Rome, so he wanted to have one obelisk here, but during the time of Constantine the Great, they were unable to bring the obelisk, so they built one which would look like an obelisk. Obelisk was brought here from Egypt during the reign of Theodosius I, some 50 years, some 60 years after Constantine the Great, for example. So this is what is left from the ancient hippodrome. Take a look. This is a U-shaped stadium-type building with the gates being here, and the chariots would be coming out with the gesture of the emperor from the special seat in here. So the chariots had to complete 7 laps around the central axis, and the central axis was decorated with more than 55 monuments. And from these monuments, 3 of them have survived to our time. Let's look at the existing view of the Hippodrome. You see, this is the curvy part of the U. Unfortunately, the seats are all gone, but we can still see the walls of the Hippodrome. And also, take a look at the remaining monuments from the central axis. These are visible today, and these are the remaining monuments from the Hippodrome. So one column is the obelisk. This is brought from Egypt during the reign of Theodosius, and this is the serpent column, and this is the Forum of Constantine. You know, Constantine built a forum in a circular format with shops all around. Right in the center, he erected a column, and on top of the column, he put his own statue. And this is the original look of the column and the statue. But the statue didn't survive much. Later, it fell down. And in the 12th century, the Komnenos family erected a cross there. And this is the most recent view of the same column that Constantine the Great erected 1600 years ago. So the cross is not there anymore, but the column is still there. And we can still visit the column. This is an area very close to the Grand Bazaar. It is just next to the tram station here. This is the current view of the column of Constantine. Ladies and gentlemen, can you imagine? This is the very column that Constantine the Great erected 1600 years ago. Another big achievement from Constantine the Great was gathering the Christians for the first time. Up until the time of Constantine the Great, Christians were hiding because they were running away from persecutions. They didn't even have churches. They were carving rock churches or having their meetings in secret ways and so on. First time ever, on the order of Constantine the Great, he gathered more than 300 representatives of Christianity, and they all gathered in a nearby town named as Nicaea. It is like a 1 hour, 1.5 hour drive from Istanbul today, around the Sea of Marmara. And Constantine the Great presided over the meetings in Nicaea, which took place in the year 325. This was the first time ever a council in the name of Christianity, and they discussed all matters about Christianity, and they took very important decisions. And one of the most important decisions taken in this council was that the Son is of the same substance with the Father. Christ is truly God. So the decisions taken in this council were all accepted by all of the churches, Christian churches around the world. That's why it is accepted to be the first ecumenical council in Christianity. Ecumenical, in this case, meaning accepted by all. So the decisions taken in this council were named or were referred to as Nicene Creed. So it was in this council that Nicene Creed was formulated. It was thanks to Constantine the Great. What is there to see now in Nicaea? There is a church which is named as Hagia Sophia today. For many years, it was believed to be the place for the meeting of the council, but the date of this building doesn't match with the date of the council. This is from a later time, but this is still standing there. It has passed through some restoration, and one part of the building there is used as a mosque, and one part it is still possible to see the remaining frescoes and the marble pieces on the floors and so on. It's a beautiful place. So, ladies and gentlemen, Constantine was not the Roman emperor who made Christianity the official religion, but he was the emperor who made Christianity free thanks to his mother. So his mother, at a later age, upon a vision that she had, went to the Holy Land and she looked for the true cross, and it is said that she found the true cross. In the place where she believed it, where it is believed that she found the true cross, they built the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem today. Later, at that late age, she returned to Constantinople with pieces from the true cross. That's why in the Greek Orthodox Church, both Helen, the mother of Constantine, and Constantine the Great have been elevated to the level of saints. So they are generally depicted in many frescoes or mosaics in the Greek Orthodox churches while they are holding the true cross as saints in Christianity. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now after a few more emperors in between, towards the end of the 4th century AD, there was another Roman emperor, and his name was Theodosius I. So Theodosius I had two big achievements. So he was very much against paganism, and as a result of this, in the year 392, he banned paganism. So he not only banned paganism, he made Christianity the state religion. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, 50, 60 years ago, people were persecuted, people were tortured in public because of their Christian beliefs. Now, 60 years later, during the time of Theodosius, paganism was banned and Christianity became the state religion. Christianity became the official religion. This was such a sharp change. And he also, I mean, Theodosius I, also ordered that all pagan temples be destroyed. So they started tearing down all of the pagan temples, like the Temple of Zeus, Temple of Apollo, Temple of Artemis, and so on. While tearing down these temples, the Byzantines, or the Roman people, were not destroying everything fully. Whatever was reusable, they were putting them aside to recycle them, to repurpose them. I'm going to come to that later on, but put it down somewhere. The second achievement that Theodosius I had was about his two sons. You see, this is the marble base, this picture, underneath the Egyptian obelisk. The obelisk was brought to Constantinople from Egypt only during the time of Theodosius I. That's why I'm showing you the reliefs from underneath the obelisk here. And in these reliefs, we see Theodosius I here, together with his wife and his two sons on the side. So one son is Arcadius, and the other son is Honorius. And he thought, I mean, Theodosius I thought that the lands of the Roman Empire were too big. So rather than leaving the lands of the Roman Empire to one of his sons, he wanted to split it between his two sons. So he divided the Roman Empire somewhere from the Balkans in the year 395, and Arcadius became the emperor of the eastern half, with Constantinople being the capital, and Honorius became the emperor of the Western Roman Empire, with Rome being the capital city. This was the great division that took place in the year 395. So from now on, the eastern part is referred to as the Eastern Roman Empire. Well, ladies and gentlemen, next century, the Western Roman Empire was suffering a lot from the attacks coming from the barbarians from the north, the Goths and the Visigoths. So if we look at the books in the West, they define 476, the defeat of the Western Roman Empire by the Goths as the disintegration year of the Roman Empire. We have a question here, a small question here for the historians who finished the Roman Empire in the year 476. Where they would like to put, or where would they like to put the other half of the Roman Empire, which continued for 1,000 years more afterwards, and that was the Eastern Roman Empire. So while the Western Roman Empire was disintegrated in the second half of the 5th century, the eastern half continued for another 1,000 years until the middle of the 15th century, and it was later named as the Byzantine Empire, especially from the 18th century onwards, in order to emphasize the difference between the real Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. So the people never used this word for themselves. They never regarded themselves as Byzantines. This was a fake word. It was a new word given from the 18th century onwards by the historians. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time of Theodosius, he continued building roads and building forums, and these are the ruins from the Forum of Theodosius, for example. And coming back to the old city, in the early 5th century came another ruler, another emperor. This time he was Theodosius II. His big achievement was the walls. You remember, these were the walls built by Constantine the Great, and the city was growing fast. From 20, 30,000, we know that in the time of Constantine, the population reached up until 170,000, and people were not fitting inside the area. So Theodosius II, in the early 5th century, started building new walls from the Sea of Marmara here on the left, going all the way down to the Golden Horn on the right. So these walls are, of course, with a certain percentage, like 35%, are still standing. These are the famous Theodosian Walls. And the city expanded more and the population continued increasing more. And these are some pictures of the Theodosian Walls, consisting of 3 different layers of defense, with the moat in the outermost part, and then some empty space, and then the outer walls, more empty space, and then the inner walls with bastions at certain intervals, and so on. So if you are able to pass the moat, you are setting a target to the archers in this empty space. If you are able to pass the outer wall one more time, you are getting a target for the archers coming from the inner walls. And I mean, passing through all of these defensive layers was impossible. Throughout history, Constantinople is accepted to be one of the most frequently besieged cities, with more than 27 sieges. And out of these 27 sieges, most of them were unsuccessful. The city fell only twice, and I'm going to come to that as well. So the previous picture was a drawing, but this is a photograph. So you can still see some restored parts of the walls, and they are still standing there. And this is the Golden Gate. This was the gate where the victorious emperors were entering into city while coming back from battles. And from this gate onward, all the way to the center of the city, they went with a procession. And it was named as the Golden Gate because it was literally covered with gold leaves. That's why it is called as the Golden Gate. So some Polyectus church built by one of the members of the royal family, and this was built in the period before the last version of Hagia Sophia was built. Then, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say a few words about the famous Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia, as I mentioned earlier, the first version was built by Constantine the Great. It was a small building with a wooden roof, and Constantine was not able to complete it, but at least he started constructing it. But during the early 5th century AD, it was destroyed. So Theodosius II, the emperor who built the city walls, had to rebuild Hagia Sophia for the second time. And the second time that he built, it was almost as big as the last one. The second Hagia Sophia didn't last long either. Then came a very prominent emperor, Justinian, in the 6th century. Justinian was not someone coming from the royal family. He was coming from common people. And his uncle Justin came to power with a military coup. And his uncle didn't have children. He didn't have any heir. That's why he left his throne to his nephew, Justinian. Justinian came to power. And Justinian, people didn't like him much, although he became a very successful emperor later on. In the year 532, still in the early years during his reign, one day when people gathered up for the in the ancient Hippodrome for the chariot races, people started protesting against Justinian. As a new emperor, he didn't know how to deal with these protests in the Hippodrome. So he started putting too much pressure on people, and that pressure that he put on people got back to him. Those innocent protesters turned into an angry mob. They got out of the ancient Hippodrome, and they started destroying everything that they came across. So they started destroying Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia, the second version, which was built by Theodosius II in the early 5th century AD, came down. Then they destroyed the Hagia Irene. Then they destroyed other buildings around. And the rebels were ready to go into the palace and take Justinian down, execute him, and put their own candidate in the throne and continue like this. Because Justinian, not only was he coming from the common people, I mean, people thought he didn't really deserve the throne. He was trying to collect too much taxes from people, and he was not very nice towards people. That's why people had a lot of reasons to hate Justinian, and they wanted to change him. Justinian was very much afraid, and he was ready to run away, but he was married to a very wise woman, and his wife was Theodora, the lady in the picture. Sorry. The lady in the picture here. And the moment that Theodora heard about her husband's escape plans, she got mad. And she must have gone to the last Senate meeting and delivered a speech there, convincing them all to stay and fight for their state, and if required, to get martyred. So after her famous speech, they all decided to stay, and this time they wanted to play a trick to the protesters. They sent messengers to the rebels, and they said, calm down, relax, stop, come back to the Hippodrome. The emperor, Justinian, is going to come to the Hippodrome, sit with you, and hear you, and negotiate with you. So about 30,000 rebels, they believed in these offers. They went back to the Hippodrome. While they were waiting for the emperor to come for negotiations, instead, his soldiers started coming in and started slaughtering 30,000 people in the Hippodrome without letting anyone to go out. So this happened in the year 532, and this was named as the Nika riot, Nika revolt, and 30,000 people got killed, one of the biggest massacres in history. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after killing 30,000 people, Justinian had to say something to people. But he didn't want to say anything verbally. He wanted to say or give his message in a different way. The way that he wanted to give his message to people was rebuilding Hagia Sophia for the third time. So he commissioned his two architects, Anthemius and Isidorus, and he asked them to rebuild Hagia Sophia in the fastest time possible. And he wanted the Hagia Sophia, the new Hagia Sophia, to be the largest religious shrine ever built. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was 532. By 537, the most recent version of Hagia Sophia was erected by thousands of people with no pause, with no rest. Workers had to work in different shifts for 24 hours. And in 537, towards the end of the year, Justinian was so proud of his monument, it became the largest religious shrine ever. He was entering into the building in great pride, and he was murmuring to himself like this, "Oh, Salman, I have surpassed thee." Until then, the most popular, the largest religious shrine was the great temple in Jerusalem. But now, Justinian beat him, and Hagia Sophia became the largest shrine. And this feature continued at least for 1,000 years. And the Hagia Sophia that we look today is the most recent version, is the one that Justinian built in 537. So when it was built, they didn't have minarets. So it was used as a church for 916 years. And look at the beauty of this building. This building was way ahead of its time. I mean, it was visible from everywhere, from all around. And it always became a very good example for monumental architecture. And the minarets, other Islamic elements were added later on after the coming of the Turks in the city in the middle of the 15th century. But if we look at Hagia Sophia, we see its beauty from inside. So I'm going to show you a few nice photos of it now. Hagia Sophia today is functioning as a mosque again. Upstairs in the galleries, it's a museum, and we can visit it with tickets. And downstairs, only the Muslim people are allowed, and they don't have to pay anything, and they can go and pray in the lower part of the building. But the galleries are for the visitors, and we need to get tickets to go in there. As you see, they put some curtains, like canvas curtains, to cover some of the mosaics. So the curtains have been put in such a way that, I mean, those people who are praying here are not bothered with the images in the mosaics because they don't have the direct view of the mosaics, but there are angles which we can see the mosaics behind the curtains. So let's focus on these now. This is the main apse. Above the main apse, we have a beautiful mosaic depicting the Virgin Mary and infant Jesus. And these are the Arabic calligraphy name panels. We have 8 of them. And this is the name of God, Allah, here. And this is the name of the Prophet Muhammad here. And in the other parts of the building, the names of the caliphs are also inscribed. I always say, where else in the world will you be able to see Allah, Prophet Muhammad, the Virgin Mary, and infant Jesus in the same picture? This is a wonderful example for coexistence. This is Gabriel, the archangel. And the main dome of Hagia Sophia, probably once upon a time, was covered with a cross, maybe the face of Jesus. But in a 19th century restoration, a very notable calligraphy artist wrote some verses from the Quran, and these verses are about light. In the 4 corners of the dome, we see the seraphim angels, the 6 winged angels. Their faces were covered in the Muslim period. Only during a restoration work, one of the 4 faces of the 4 angels has been opened, so we are able to see the angel, the face in here. Beautiful. As I said, the galleries are functioning as a museum today, and this is a general photograph from the galleries. This is maybe one of the most beautiful mosaics from the gallery. These are possible to see. This trio is named as the Deises trio, and Jesus from the Judgment Day as the judge in the center, and the Virgin Mary on one side, and John the Baptist on the other side are interceding with Jesus. So I put here another picture. This is a fresco from the Chora Church, and this shows the whole judgment scene with Jesus in the center, the Virgin Mary on one side, John the Baptist on the other side. When Jesus shows up with his right hand, he's going to judge every individual, and they will go to heaven, and heaven is represented with a scroll here with timelessness. And if he shows down with his left hand, those people will go to burning hell. So this is what it is. This trio in the Greek language is called as Desis, Desis, and it is the trio taken from the Judgment Day. And let's focus on the face here. Let's look at the quality of the mosaic here. Take a look, ladies and gentlemen. In the mosaic art, there is no painting at all. Whatever color you see, they are the colors of the little stones. Little stones are named as tesserae. Brown comes from the brown stone. Black comes from the black stone. White comes from the white stone. Only the yellow is gold, gilding on the glass. So by putting these tiny pieces of different color tesserae, the mosaic artist is making the whole picture. And the smaller the tesserae pieces are, the higher the resolution is. And look at the quality of the mosaic here. The tesserae pieces are so small, and the mosaic artist has been able to convey even the feelings of the Virgin Mary here. Don't you see how sad she looks here? And with a little bit of pride as well. You can read this feeling on her face. And this is the success of the mosaic. And we have two more mosaics on the gallery floor. And these are the emperors making donations to the church. And as a result of these donations, they were allowed to put their mosaics with their pictures in the mosaics. So this is the emperor from the 12th century, from the Komnenos family, John Komnenos. And in order to make an alliance, the Komnenos family made a marriage with the Hungarian princess. So this is Piroshka, the Hungarian princess, and she came from Hungary to be the wife of Komnenos, and her name was changed into a Greek name, and it became Irene. Irene means peace, so she came to Constantinople to bring peace between the Byzantines and the Hungarians. And here they are making donations with the document in her hand and with the money bag in John's hand. They are offering this donation to Jesus in the middle. And they were able to make their names memorable with this donation, and we are still able to see these mosaics there. Similarly, in the same corner of the gallery, we have a similar mosaic here. This time it is Jesus himself without the Virgin Mary, and one empress here and one emperor here, again making donation to the church. This is the famous, intriguing Zoe, who had to marry 3 times. So each time she changed the husband, they carved the face of the husband here and put the new face of the new husband here. So there is a long story of this lady, but I don't want to take too much time of yours. Maybe in one of the upcoming presentations, we can do it later. And in the lower story, this is the entrance to the inner narthex for the emperors. Whenever the emperors had to come to the place, they had to pass through here. So this was an entrance, not for people, only for the emperors. And you see there's a beautiful mosaic here as well from the later times, from like the 10th century. What do we have in this mosaic? Take a look. It is infant Jesus again, together with the Virgin Mary, the Mother of God. And we have 2 more figures on the 2 sides. And the one on the left is holding a church. That is the very Hagia Sophia. So the founder of Hagia Sophia was Justinian. So Justinian is offering his church to Jesus. Whereas the other guy on the right is Constantine. Actually, their names are inscribed here in the Greek letters. So this is Constantine the Great, who is accepted to be the founder of the city. Because he was the emperor who made Constantinople the new capital for the Roman Empire. So in this picture, he is offering his city to Jesus. So it's a beautiful mosaic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the interior of the mosque is covered with carpets today because it's functioning as a mosque. But there is one little section and it has a beautiful marble covering with combination of many colorful geometrically cut pieces of stones. So we believe this place must be a special place, probably the place where the coronation ceremonies of the emperors were held. So it's a beautiful section. And one of the most important features of the Hagia Sophia is that on the walls, rather than covering the walls with plaster and painting them over, they used lots of marble panels. And especially the ones that they used on the walls are different color combinations with different patterns on the panels. And when they have the marble panel with motifs on them, just like a tailor, they book match the patterns with each other and then they put them in a frame. So we have many of these framed book matching marble panels all around the walls. And look at the quality of the marble work here. Imagine one big block of marble, hand carved, hand drilled, with the acanthus leaves, with the two scrolls. This is a capital put on top of a column. There are 107 columns in Hagia Sophia, all topped with handmade Byzantine style capitals, acanthus leaves, and the name of the emperor or the empress in Greek letters is inscribed in this monogram here. Beautiful work. One more beautiful mosaic from the lower story at the entrance to the main section. That is Jesus as the Pantocrator, the Almighty. The Greek Orthodox people, rather than depicting Jesus while he is suffering, they want to show Jesus like a victorious ruler. Look how he is sitting in his throne. He is the Pantocrator, the Almighty. He is wearing the costume of an emperor, and he's sitting in a throne with lots of jewelry on them, and he is doing the gesture of blessing with his right hand, and he is holding the holy book on his left hand, and on the book it says, "I am the light." So on one side, it is the Archangel Gabriel, and the other side, it is the Virgin Mary. And this emperor kneeling down in front of Jesus is believed to be Leo VI, asking for forgiveness because he did something that the church didn't like. He remarried 4 times until he had a son. The church was not happy with this. He did that. Later, he made a donation. Now, he put his mosaic here, and he is asking for forgiveness, asking for a blessing from Jesus, and he is getting his blessing there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if we climb up the minaret of Hagia Sophia, when we look towards the Bosphorus, when we look towards the Topkapı Palace, we see the dome of the Hagia Irene. Hagia Irene shares the same history like the Hagia Sophia, and it is standing in the first courtyard of the Topkapı Palace today. It was built by Justinian for the second time after the Nika riots when it was destroyed. So it was not converted into a mosque in the Turkish period. It is just used. It was just used as an armory by the Ottoman soldiers. So today it's functioning as a museum. This is a view from the interior of the building, and you can still see the cross in the main apse. Another beautiful church built by Justinian before he built Hagia Sophia, actually, a few years before Hagia Sophia, he built a church and he dedicated this church to 2 soldier saints, Saint Sergios and Saint Bakos. In the Turkish period, this church has been converted into a mosque. It is functioning as a mosque today, but this is one of the hidden jewels in Istanbul. If you ever come to Istanbul, you shouldn't miss this place. This is named as the Little Hagia Sophia Mosque or Church of Saint Sergios and Saint Bakos. It is so close to the other main Hagia Sophia, but it is not visited much. So that's why I would like to draw your attention to this. And I wouldn't like you to miss that. A few shots from inside. Look at the quality of the marble and look at the quality of the marble capitals again. Same thing here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the old city from the air again, so this is Hagia Sophia here, and this is the Blue Mosque. This whole area was the area where the great palace of the Byzantines were built by first Constantine and then by many other emperors coming to the throne over the time. So this area, the area of the palace, was inhabited in the Turkish period from the 15th century onwards. So the Turks started building their homes or buildings on top of the ruins of the palace. So underneath these houses, there are still the ruins. So we have some discovery tours once in a while. We say underground Istanbul. These places are not always open to public. Sometimes you need special permission to enter these places. These are the ruins of the Great Palace and still underground. Take a look. This is, for example, a hotel lobby with the ruins of the palace in the lobby of the hotel, like a museum hotel. Artifacts found during the construction of the hotel with the special permission from the Museum of Archaeology are exhibited in the hotel lobby. Water was always a problem in Istanbul. In its heyday, about 500,000 people lived within the walls. So in times of peace, water was no problem. Byzantines or the Romans were good in water engineering. They were able to carry water from distances like 100, 150 miles farther away. But whenever there was a siege, one of the first things that the enemy would do, they would cut the water supply. So 500,000 people would face a big risk of drought. That's why Byzantines were very much concerned, and in times of peace, they built hundreds of underground water reservoirs. Each one was named as a cistern. So I'm going to show you a few pictures of the famous cisterns of Istanbul. First of all, the aqueduct of Valens, bringing water into the city. It is still intact. It is still standing, recently restored in a good condition. This is the largest of all the cisterns, the Basilica Cistern. They have used 336 recycled columns. These columns were recycled from the pagan temples, which were torn on the order of Theodosius I when he banned paganism. So as a result, 336 columns with their capitals, sometimes Corinthian style, sometimes Doric style, with still water inside. This is the largest cistern built in the 6th century AD by the same Emperor Justinian who built the Hagia Sophia. This is one of the most mind-blowing places in the world. I don't think there is anywhere else in the world with a similar building. So this is so unusual. Films were shot here. For example, the former James Bond movie From Russia with Love by Sean Connery was shot here. A more recent movie will be The Inferno by Tom Hanks, from the author of the Da Vinci Code. They had a fighting scene in here. It was the Basilica Cistern. This is one of the very popular places in Istanbul, and there are always big lines at the entrance. But we, on the organized tours, are able to skip the lines, and we are able to go.
Sharif, we're getting close to finishing up here.
All right.
Do you have a few more things to do?
Yeah, maybe another 5-10 minutes. Would that be too much?
Sounds good.
5 minutes, maybe. I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So a few other shots from various cisterns. Some of them are used for different purposes. For example, this is a museum open to public. This one is a museum open to public. Yeah. This one is functioning as a restaurant. Look at the beauty of this cistern. They were built as water reservoirs. This is another cistern in which they have receptions and weddings. This is an exhibition place, I mean, like an art gallery, but in theory, same purpose building, another small size cistern. Similar one underneath a hotel. A jacuzzi in an ancient cistern. These are variations of the cisterns in Istanbul. Some of them are really hard to find. We can't enter into this one anymore, but we were able to make discoveries like this before. This is also a cistern, but an open air cistern, which is functioning as a soccer field today. You see the walls in here, the ancient walls. This was filled with water once upon a time. So some more churches from the Byzantine period converted into mosques and functioning as mosques today. More examples from these off the beaten places. Mosques converted from churches, but still carry traces of frescoes and sometimes mosaics on the walls. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in 1054, there was big tension between the East and the West, and then we had this great schism, 1054, the separation of the Eastern and Western churches. This separation led to Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. And then the East and the West became enemies. I said that Istanbul fell twice. The first time it fell, it was in the year 1204 to the Crusaders. So the siege and sack of Constantinople in 1204, the Crusaders, who were supposedly on their way to the Holy Land to protect the Holy Land, mostly from the Muslims, they were seduced with the wealth of the city, and they saw Constantinople as an enemy anyway. So they attacked Constantinople. By coincidence, they were able to capture the city, and they were even able to establish a Latin empire, which would last for 57 years in here. And the city of Constantinople was looted so badly during that time, and they were able to get their city back from the Crusaders 57 years later, but the city was never able to recover anymore. Some more Byzantine monuments, some monastery complexes, some palace complexes. There is a lot to see. I mean, you could spend so many days in Istanbul by sparing some themes for tours, sometimes for the Ottoman treasures, sometimes for the Byzantine treasures. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to mention one more place and then conclude my presentation. This is the famous Chora Church. This is one of the most beautiful churches in the world, with so many beautiful mosaics on the walls. The quality of the mosaics is so high. And if you ever come to Istanbul, this is a place which you shouldn't miss. The name is Chora Church. Today, it's functioning as a mosque, but most of the parts are like museums, and we are able to see all of the mosaics in this place. And it is generally neglected. It's like a hidden jewel, but it shouldn't be missed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to stop here. This is another view of the Chora Church. And I would like to thank you for your attention. If you have any critical questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are just a couple questions, and
okay.
One that I found, Lily was wondering what percentage is Christian still in your country?
Under the Ottomans, it was a big percentage. We had Jews, we had Christians, we have Armenians, we have the Greek Orthodox, we had them all. But unfortunately, over the time, it got less and less and less. Today, Turkey is not a Muslim state. It's a secular state. But majority of the population are Muslims. 99% are Muslims. 1% only are non-Muslims.
So, are there many churches? 1% is not a lot. Are there still buildings that are acting as Catholic churches or Christian churches?
There are many churches functioning as churches. We have them all. We have the Russian churches, we have the Bulgarian churches, we have the Catholic churches, we have the Greek Orthodox churches, we have the Jewish synagogues functioning with their original functions.
Someone wanted to know if you could still climb the minarets.
No.
Is that something you can do? No.
No. I was able to do a few times, but I've been working as a guide for 37 years, only with some special occasions, with some special permissions, I was able to do that.
Okay.
Because, minarets are really dangerous and they are old buildings. Some of them are 500 years old. Some of them are 1500 years old. So they don't want to risk anything. That's why they generally don't give permission.
Makes sense. Hey, everybody wants more, but we only have a little bit of time today. Everybody, please try and join us on Thursday morning as well. Sharif will be telling us some interesting things that are just recently found. So we should all enjoy that very much. And we want to thank you for being here today, and we will see you on Thursday.
Thank you very much. Thursday, one of the most mind-blowing subjects. I mean, the Neolithic Revolution. There is so much to surprise you. I wouldn't like you to miss that. See you on Thursday, hopefully. Yeah.
Sounds
Thank you very
perfect.
much.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you.
everybody, for coming.